Well, we spend a fair amount of time over the course of the year with the folks from the Haven of Rest, and so I suppose it makes sense that Daniel Jones is back with us here on the last day of the broadcast year, I guess is what we'd call it, to spend some time with us talking about the good work that they do and the campaign here at the run-up to the end of the year. Good morning, Daniel.
Hey, good morning, Richard. It's been a good year, hasn't it?
It has. I hear a lot of people squawking about, how rough it's been on, celebrities and things, but...
True story.
Yeah, but it has been productive. You've been doing good work, and the Haven continues to do that every single day.
Every single day, it's just in and out. This was our 60th year of service.
Yeah.
And, boy, we started 60 years ago in 1956 when serving just a population, mostly of war veterans, kind of going between Detroit and Chicago, riding the rails, and they'd stop in Battle Creek for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, maybe a cot and a shower and a gospel message, and then they'd be on their way. And that's really what we were way back when that was the face of the average homeless person. And in those intervening 60 years, the average face of the homeless person has evolved. Nowadays, if you're talking about a homeless person, odds are you're talking about a woman with children. And so we've evolved as well and become a service and a critical part of the safety net in this town that really serves everybody that comes through the door.
Boy, sometimes just the environment, the circumstances, the situations around you necessitate how you pivot and change and react.
Yeah, it's got to be evolving all the time. And,
yeah.
You and I talk about it all the time. I hope I mention it every time we speak, that homelessness really is just a symptom that something has gone very wrong in somebody's life. And, I hope your listeners don't get bored of hearing that, but it's true. It's really reaching through that issue of homelessness, that somebody needs a bed and a meal and some shelter, to get to the real root cause of what is driving the homelessness. That's what the Haven does, and that's how we can create change so effectively. We'll reach through and ask, why don't you have a home? What is causing it? Why don't you have the income and the supports necessary? And really start driving through to get to the root causes.
Yeah, is that the biggest misconception about homelessness, is that there are not necessarily circumstances that have caused that might be beyond one's control? There's that perception, that myth maybe, is to assign blame right away, isn't it?
It's a myth that the homeless person doesn't want to work, or that they can't work, or something like that. I mean,
right.
You see the panhandlers out on Beckley Road, and that's a completely different subject that we probably shouldn't jump into, but they're doing what they're doing by choice, because that's an effective way for them to raise money. And we see so many people in our shelters who are trying to do the right thing, who are working, the employed homeless. And there's just some circumstances, either a medical bill or an addiction or a mental illness, that really drive the homelessness. And those are some of the things that you got to get your arms around if you're going to get your person to change. You've got to get your arms around the addiction. You've got to get your arms around whatever circumstance is driving that.
Well, and you referred to the panhandler situation. This is not to say we haven't delved into this issue in the past.
Sure.
Over the course of this year, we've talked about it a lot, not with just you, but with the police and others in the community,
right.
Who are well aware of that situation and have some signals that tell them that's an example of our current homeless situation, or it's not. But the point is that person out there who is using this situation to pad their pockets might be the one that controls the perception about homelessness across the board, right?
That's the visible perception, sure.
Yeah.
And I give huge props to our local police department and our local agencies that try and help the 99% of the homeless people you do not see. They're not out on Beckley Road doing whatever. They are in our shelters. They're in our programs, and beyond just the shelters that the Haven runs, there's 9 other programs they're creating change, and we can talk about those maybe after your break or something like that. But the visible part that you see on Beckley Road, 99% of the homeless people are doing something very different than standing on a corner with a sign.
Yeah, and Chief Blocker's talked with us about that more than once.
Yeah.
That if there's a person who is chronically homeless in Battle Creek, and this is their town,
sure,
they probably know who they are. They're familiar with them. he says he's concerned. He said it here and here. I don't think he minds my repeating it. That if an officer or a member of his department sees someone like out on Beckley Road and they don't know who they are, they've not seen them before, and they're out there with a sign, to him that's a signal something else is going on.
Yeah, it's possible. And, we are on a first-name basis with most of the people that are either on those corners or in the homeless camps that do exist in and around Battle Creek and the various places. We're on a first-name basis with them. Yeah. And we go into those camps. I've been into those camps. And you just walk in and you ask permission to enter because it is truly somebody's
their home.
Yeah. And most are willing to have a conversation with you. They'll explain why they're there. Maybe there's post-traumatic stress disorder that they can't be inside four walls for more than a couple of hours.
Oh, wow.
I mean, those conditions exist, and they're not funny. They're very serious. And so we try and help as even if they're not coming into our shelters, we're walking into their homes and their campments saying, how can we help? What can we do? Let's get, at least some sort of change started.
We're here with Daniel Jones from the Haven of Rest. Daniel Jones is here from the Haven of Rest this half hour on WBCK. So, yes, we often do talk about homelessness, the programs that you have in place at the Haven that try to address those things that you talked about, homelessness being a symptom. There are other issues you've got to uncover there to try and assist to address those. And we've talked on many occasions about those programs that address that. What are the other things the Haven does?
There are 9 other ministries, and you can probably imagine that the big ones are the men's shelter and Inasmuch House, and we talk about those all the time. Those are the parts where we're serving shelter, food, just life-sustaining things. Those are the critical pieces. But when we've gotten someone in, when we get someone in and we speak to them and learn the situation that they're in, a lot of times there are other things going on, like an addiction, like a mental illness, or there are other needs, like a longer-term time to learn. Our shelters are 60 days. That's emergency, life-sustaining shelter. It's the difference between life and death on nights like we just had.
Right.
And so someone's in front of us. They're presenting us with an issue. I need help with an alcohol addiction. Great. We've got both men's and women's life recovery programs. We call them life recovery programs that are up to 1 year. We keep that person with us, very close to the vest, and really create a new lifestyle, a way of living, and a whole new way of behavioral therapy that really allows a person a different response to stress. If I'm having a bad day at work, if I'm having a bad day with my family, someone may be hardwired to reach for alcohol or drugs.
Yeah.
That is an escape. That's a quick way out. We teach a new way to respond to that, and it's a faith-based message, and I think that's one of the reasons that these life recovery programs are so effective. They're faith-based. Here's something to believe in. Here's a personal relationship with Jesus Christ that can really start to build on a new way of life, and you see so many miraculous turnarounds in people's lives. For the children that come along with people that come to the Haven, we've got support programs like the Gain Access program, and we talked about that a couple of weeks ago. Great educational support for children of homeless families. Not only tutoring and homework labs, but socialization and fun things. We take them to the Barn Theater and to the Binder Park Zoo and other fun places. So good, it's just getting our arms around the entire family. There are outreach programs for our veterans. The general population of the United States is maybe 7 or 8% veterans. And the population of homeless people is close to 25% veterans.
Oh, my.
So, yeah, we work with our local VA and take some of their most difficult homeless cases and help them make more progress in a couple of months that they're with us than they've made in 10 years. And, again, miraculous turnarounds of individualized plans of action for the men and women that have served us. It's an honor to serve them back. So just so many different programs that are just, beyond homeless shelter and food and life survival. We want to create change, and it's through these additional programs that we're able to do that.
You make a point about the faith-based nature of things being something that someone can focus on when they're in the throes of trying to get through this.
Yep.
Sometimes, and we've talked about it because you've brought folks here who've said this, they're a little trepidatious about that, aren't they?
Well, it's not forced on anybody. It's not required.
Yeah.
We are servants ourselves, and so it's between us and God that we are called to do this service. And you'll see that across the Havens staff, just absolute 100%. Everybody is there to serve. It's not forced on anybody. It's offered. And the people that will take a chance, that will listen, that will say, yeah, I'll try this, you will see that miraculous turnaround. If someone's against it or doesn't want it, or some other religion that they are practicing, we're not going to try and force anybody into anything.
Right.
Great for them. So, you got to believe in something. And the people that come in and take the advantage to build this relationship and really take the next steps, you'll see them build a community around themselves. You'll see them start to have successes, and those just build on themselves.
Well, and one life that changes as a result of that is a huge success in and of itself. There are plenty of those lives you've affected.
Sure.
But there are still sometimes, right, when you see some folks come back because this takes focus for them that might take more than one go-around.
Absolutely. And we've got programs that exist for up to 2 years where transitional living is reinforced with life skills, where people are coming back to us on a weekly basis and taking life skills classes in things you and I might take for granted, like budgeting or parenting or why you want a good relationship with your landlord. There are so many life skills, right, that are not necessarily modeled in the lives of people who have lived through very, very deep poverty or homelessness as a child themselves. They're living in a kind of a cycle.
Yeah.
And so we try and break that cycle with these life skills classes. Let's build some success on income and generating a budget and credit ratings and things like that. Let's build some successes there. Up to 2 years, you'll see people who come to us at the homeless shelter with a bicycle and 2 kids, right? And when they leave 2 years later, they've got a nursing degree and the kids are in school and everybody's doing well and success is building on itself. I think when we see the cycle broken, and it takes way longer than 60 days to break a cycle in somebody's life, when we see the cycles being broken, yeah, that's success.
And that's infectious for everybody involved.
Sure is, yeah. And you've heard some of the stories of success that people have had, and it is infectious. People want that. And I know your listeners out there want people to be successful as well. They don't want this community to have a homelessness issue, and I'd love to be out of business myself.
Yeah, right.
But it exists, and it's never the same 2,300 people or 2,400 people every year that we serve. It's always somebody new. And yeah, there may be a chronic 20 or 30 individuals that we're going to take care of, but we're really never going to be 100% successful. I think I've learned over 6 or 7 years now at the Haven that you cannot save 100% of the people, but you can serve them. And that's still an honor to serve whomever walks through that door.
And your point that you do see new folks regularly means
all the time.
You are helping some folks whom you do not see again. They're off on their own, and now there's someone else who's in that same position.
Yeah, there's so many people that come to us. I want to say 80% of our men come to the men's shelter, and they're out in 30 days. They just need a little time to get their feet underneath themselves. Great. And we won't see that person again. 70% of the women move through the shelter at Inasmuch House in less than 30 days. So there's successes all the time, and you do not see them again, and they're just grateful for somebody to be there for a couple of weeks when they need it.
2017, we're on the cusp of that. What do you think is one of the biggest challenges you see now in the new year?
We've got a couple of projects going on, and our biggest challenge, I think, this new year will be coming to the public to talk about a building that we want to put down on a campus downtown. Everybody wants to raise, millions of dollars for building.
Yeah.
We're looking at less than that, much less than that. We can stretch a penny pretty far. So probably looking at $500,000 or $600,000 in 2017. We need a kitchen and a dining facility that are code compliant. If you've been to our shelter and you've seen the kitchen, and it's probably about the size of this studio, and it produces 80,000 meals a year. Our friends at the health department come in and inspect, and we're very careful about our health, producing the food that we do. But we need a code-compliant kitchen. I think there are some things we're grandfathered on that we need to be, moving beyond. So 80,000 meals a year, yeah, we're producing that, and nobody's getting sick, which is great. We need to be in this new building We want to build it on this empty lot between Inasmuch House and the Haven itself. We've got some renovations that we're going to be doing this year. You know, the east end of downtown is kind of ours at the Haven.
Yeah.
We're gonna build it up a little bit. We're gonna clean it up.
Well, and everybody can relate to this. If you own a home,
Yep.
You're doing what you can to keep the home fires burning, as they say.
Sure.
Keep the budget stocked and so on, but then the roof needs to be fixed or the furnace needs to be replaced.
Yep.
You're talking about the kitchen here. You know, you're using
Funny
that.
you mentioned those two things because the roof does leak, and our boilers have been replaced lately.
Yes.
So
There you go. So folks can help. And this is almost the last minute. If you want a tax deduction for 2016,
Sure.
now would be the time to act.
Yep.
Today or tomorrow, even, because your website allows a donation that way. So
Sure does.
get that in under the wire. How do we do it?
well, you call your financial advisor.
Yeah.
Tell them you want to do it. We can help any way we can. We'll stand ready at the Haven. If they want to go to the website, it's thehavenbc.org. You want to send us a check, it's 11 Green Street here in Battle Creek at 49014. We'd love to help out, and we can stretch that dollar and make it happen. You'll be creating a lot of change in our community. You'll be supporting what I think is one of the most impactful nonprofits in town.
And Daniel Jones is here, and we'll continue to stay in touch over the course of 2017. The Haven of Rest. Happy New Year. Congratulations on all your successes in your 60th anniversary year.
Thank you very much, Richard. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.